I am Carly Levin, a partner with the Legal Tech Fund. Welcome to today's episode of Legal Tech Briefs. Today we have Christina Wojcik, Chief Innovation Officer at Pierson Ferdinand. Really excited to have you on today. Thank you for joining us. You have a very unique approach to technology, one we can't say we've heard anywhere else. So really looking forward to chatting with you today. And I also know that you and I share a shared background of the opportunities and challenges of innovating within a bank as well. So good to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I always love participating in Legal Tech Fund events, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
And I'll put you on the spot because on my desk for the past 2 years, I've had your quote from the Legal Tech Summit.
Oh, which one is it?
It is courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities because it is the quality which guarantees all others.
Mm. Winston Churchill. I was given that quote when I was playing basketball in college, and it just stuck with me because it's one of those things that if you can just step up when things are step up when things are not a given, right? Step up when things are uncertain and just go for it. Everything else will come after, right? You might not be successful every single time, but if you're the one to put your foot forward, oftentimes you will be successful or you'll learn from it, right? So I keep that quote with me.
I love it, and I've had it here. It's since the
That's great.
2024 TLTF Summit.
That's great.
So, as we talked about, you have seen multiple waves in technology. What feels different today?
Yeah, so I got involved in technology in around 2012 when I joined IBM. And what I was really interested in with IBM was figuring out how to productize Watson for the legal space. Watson had just won Jeopardy, and it was really kind of that pivotal moment of what else can we do with it. And so from about 2012 until present, I would say that the biggest change that I've seen in this wave is truly usability, right? These products that are coming to market today are designed for the types of people who need to be able to leverage them, need to be able to leverage them quickly, get value from them quickly. When I was in the machine learning era of technology and artificial intelligence, we had very specific programs that were not to be touched by lawyers. Not that lawyers couldn't use them, but the amount of change management, the amount of training that went into doing user-driven machine learning was just not appropriate for what our stakeholders needed. So we had to have a different class of administrators or power users and really get them dedicated to delivering what ultimately brought that value. Now, the products that are on the market, I can take a look at them today, put them in front of some of my lawyers tomorrow, and with very little training, they can get on there and start driving value to their clients. So I think that that's truly what's making the difference and what's driving adoption and what's driving value to clients.
That's a really nice way to put it. The usability. What a simple response.
I'm a very in a complex world. I'm a very simple person.
So Pearson Ferdinand has a very unique approach and a very unique structure. Would you mind walking through how you think about the traditional associate pyramid and what difference it makes in your firm?
Absolutely. So, in traditional law, there is a pyramid structure where you've got a big layer of legal professionals, associates, all the way up to partnership, executive partners, and whatnot. In our approach, we flip that pyramid on its head, where our layer is partner. So we're a partner only, no associates, and we do have a small paralegal pool. And essentially, what we are trying to solve is that value to clients. You'll be hearing me talk, I'm sure, during this entire conversation about just value, value, value. And it's probably because I sat on the other side of the fence when I was in house, right? And it's all about driving value. And so, what we're really trying to do is bring that value to our customers out of the gate. We don't have associates and we don't have billable hours, and therefore those types of costs are reflected in our rates by reducing the actual amount of kind of our billable. Our billable rates are typically 30 to potentially 50% lower than some of our AmLaw friends. What we're also doing is we're compensating our partners differently. And so we have an algorithm that essentially calculates what every partner is going to make based on what their billables were. It's an eat what you kill model, which allows partners who have significant books to come over to Pierson Ferdinand and see more of a return on that book. Because again, we don't have those non value added layers to our firm that have to be compensated for. And so our partners are happier because they're getting bigger payouts from their billables. Our clients are happier because their rates have been reduced and they're getting value add out of the gate from the experience our partners bring to the table. And it just works incredibly well in this current ecosystem where our clients are feeling the pressure to reduce their legal spend, especially their spend with their law firms.
And within this model, how do you think about technology? What is your approach to technology? How do you think about platforms versus point solutions, and how are the partners stay utilizing it?
And this is the most exciting part of my job because all I do is think about technology and how we can be leveraging technology differently. So, because we don't have associates and we have a small paralegal pool, we're really a technology first law firm. And so everything that we do, we look to see, what are the value drivers? What are those tasks that this particular piece of technology can be delivering that might reduce or replace the tasks that typically would be performed by an associate? And the tasks we're not talking are legal based, right? A lot of them are administrative based or first draft. And so we're not replacing kind of that intellectual capital from the partners, but we're replacing some of those, again, those task oriented jobs that have to be completed. And so when I think about platforms versus targeted or point solutions, there is absolutely room and a necessity for both. Sometimes you just need that utility player that can handle a lot of different types of use cases relatively well, right? You just need a starting point for certain things. So if you're using an LLM or a legal wrapper on top of a system, to get your first draft, to do summaries, things like that is a significant value add, but it may not get to the granularity that some of the point solutions get to. And so when I'm thinking about bringing in technology into the firm, I'm looking at both. I want those general utility players that can be leveraged across a wide range of our firm. But then I'm also looking for those tools that really get into the nitty gritty of whatever that use case might be to be able to solve for that more quickly and potentially provide better results to our clients because it's able to process information more quickly or it's able to look at larger data sets more quickly. So it helps guide our clients into kind of decisions that they might take based on what our lawyers are suggesting. So I would say, and again, this is where things get complex, right? Because the answer isn't easy. It's like it's one or the other. I think it has to be both.
And based on what you're describing, are ideas for tools, are they coming from your group? Are they coming from the partners? Or is it both? Has it changed over time?
It's coming from both, actually. So I often have requests from partners saying, hey, do you know of anything in X area that could help my practice? And so then I go out to market, take a look to see if there's anything that's ripe enough for them to use for that particular practice. And then I put it through a really kind of easy review. So if there's a technology that exists that is a point solution for that particular practice, I go through essentially a 3-step process. The first step is making sure that the foundational security infrastructure is there, right? There's nothing that comes through our doors that isn't SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, GDPR, combination of those three things. The second thing I look at is commercials. Like we spoke about at the very beginning of our conversation, we're structured differently. And so the commercial models that are typical within emerging technologies or very mature technologies don't always work for our model because the one thing that we won't do is have shelfware. I spent too many years paying for things that we never end up using. So that is no longer an option for me or an option that I will bring into the firm. So are we able to align the commercials in a way that we're able to purchase to make sure that the tool is getting full use and full value from our partners, which allows us to, again, save costs that don't have to be passed down through our rates to our clients. And then the last thing I look at is, like we said, usability, right? Is this something that a partner who's been practicing for 40 years, so did not grow up with technology in the way that we do today, can use quickly to bring value to their customers? And so those are kind of the steps I take to evaluate. And then I probably have 2 or 3 demos a day of new technology. When people are coming to me and say, hey, Christina, we see that there is a problem or a gap in the technology marketplace. Can you take a look at our tool and let us know what you think? And if that tool looks like it could add value, meets those 3 different qualification steps, then I move them right into evaluation from our partner team. Because at the end of the day, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not a real lawyer, right? So I'm licensed to practice, but no one wants me to practice. And so I take it to those practitioners who can really put it through its paces to make sure that, again, it's easy to use and drives value to their clients. So it's a really, really seamless process that we go through. And we're able to really accelerate the use and adoption of technology through that process.
If when you're talking to law firms that are just getting started, they're not technology first, but are thinking about how to incorporate technology into their practice, what's the first piece of advice that you give them?
I think for a law firm just coming off the ground, I think that they really need to think about things differently than what we've typically done. So typically what we've seen is let's hire the best and the brightest law firms, and then we'll try to put technology on top of them. If you're starting from the ground up, you can actually start with let's look at the technology that's out there today and identify the gaps, the human gaps in where that technology needs that human layer of review. And so if you start with the foundation of technology, then you can put the right types of team members on top of that technology. And it does a couple of things for you. The first thing that it does, it allows you to drive immediate efficiency and savings to your customers because, again, you're built on that technology layer. The second thing, it allows you to hire partners or hire associates or just hire people within the firm that will understand that that's the culture of the firm, right? We are driving efficiency, value, and savings and quality work to our clients through the augmented use of technology and humans. And I think that that is really a differentiator today than if you try to set up traditionally and then backfill for the technology.
Makes sense. What technology are you still waiting on? Have you not invested in yet, but you're looking for in the future?
Yeah, so the one that's and they're out there. The ones that we have been floating around and just haven't pulled the trigger on are time tracking, timekeeping. And so we understand that there can be a significant value add by having kind of AI supported tracking and keeping. It makes our partners' lives easier. And there's some incredibly good or promising products on the market today. And that's one area that we haven't pulled the trigger on quite yet because again it's one of those things with our model being different. We want to make sure that we're investing in the right technology that would be more of an enterprise tool, and we need to ensure that that enterprise tool will bring enterprise value that again will be passed down to the clients as well as help with the organization's just kind of financials, right? Does it really provide the X return that it states it does? And so we're keeping a very close eye on it. I continue to talk to my peers within the industry to understand the value that they're deriving, and we will likely go down that route at some point, but just not quite there yet.
Now, close to my heart, what did you learn at Citi about innovation that you've brought to the legal world?
It's really interesting. So I joined Citi to head their innovation and technology group for the global legal department, and it was such a wonderful experience there because I had the opportunity to really understand the complexity of bringing on technology at a highly regulated organization. And Carly, I know you can relate to this. And there are so many different opportunities to leverage technology, to build technology, to leverage the different technology groups within the organization. But I think that going into it, knowing how important the security infrastructure is of any tool that you're going to use if it's not built in-house. And I think that's one of the things that's often missed by emerging tech companies is not understanding how important security infrastructure of their tool is. Because if they get something wrong, if something's exposed at an organization, a tier one financial organization, do you have the opportunity to bring down the global financial market? Probably not where I sat, but that's always looming in my mind. And that's one thing that I don't want on my conscience. So making sure that those organizations have the proper security infrastructure is incredibly important. I think the other things that are really important is everyone believes that they want Citi as a logo for their business, right? And making sure that that organization, that vendor, that technology provider really understands what it means and what it takes to be onboarded at an organization like that is critical. I think that the other thing, going back to more internal look, the other thing I really found fascinating and enjoyed was combining the needs of the business with the needs of the legal department. So I really sat at the intersection of law and the business to ensure that our clients, the business stakeholders within the organization, were getting the return from the legal department in a much more efficient manner than potentially they had received before. So how can we look at automation between the juxtaposition between the business and legal, the handovers between legal and the business, and how legal and the business can really come together to form a cohesive unit. I also really liked exploring how legal could potentially be a revenue driver for the business. And so I partnered with the Citi Ventures team and some of the bankers to really understand investment opportunities, banking opportunities with the legal market. And this is back in 2019. So right around the time where legal tech fund was getting in place. So this is really before the legal tech world was fully being invested by outside sources, and was really able to help them guide the decisions they made on which technologies, legal technologies, they were interested in investing in. And they've had some very positive results from those conversations. And so we're able to show that not only could legal help drive more efficient business, make faster decisions through the use of technology, through kind of those relationships, but we could also help generate revenue for the organization by taking the experience that we had and providing that insight to our ventures and banker teams.
So given the wide variety of experience that you've had, if you think about law students today, how should they think about what recommendations do you have as they think about their careers in law, operations, technology? What recommendations would you make to them?
I mean, the first thing I would love to say to them, and I actually did this. A dear friend of mine, Whitney Stefko, invited me to speak at Arizona State University Law School a couple of months ago, or I guess more than that. But this is such an exciting time to be in the legal space. If you are a young lawyer, if you're just coming out of law school, if you're only a couple of years into your practice, the legal world is finally catching up to where these law students, these young lawyers are used to working, right? These individuals coming into the legal practice today have grown up with technology. And we're finally, us oldies here, we're finally saying, hey, take those skill sets that you've had, growing up with your iPads, growing up with prompting, growing up with these sorts of things, and bring them into the legal world. And so they have an opportunity to accelerate their value within any organization or law firm that they're in because they know how to use these tools almost intuitively. They are able to accelerate their value by bringing more insights because they know how to consume large quantities of data more quickly. They don't have to be in a law firm to have a very successful, lucrative, fulfilling career. They can take the skill sets that they've learned in law school, the skills that they have with the technology that they've grown up with, and bring it into legal operations. They can use different skill sets. Maybe they really like marketing, right? Marketing and legal, there's a huge opportunity there. Data analytics and legal, right? There's just so many different ways that you can change your career to fit not only your skill sets, but also your interests. And you don't have to stick to a traditional path again to be very successful and professionally and personally fulfilled. I think I've had almost every career you can have in this space. And I have to say each one is more interesting than the next.
Well, and you couldn't predict 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what the job titles would have been today in law firms. It's changed.
And it continues to change. I see job descriptions for things that I hadn't heard of, but absolutely makes sense. So I think being able to be agile and adjust and pivot one's career and one's perspective is what makes someone incredibly valuable within a firm or an organization.
What predictions do you have for the next 5 or 10 years for law firms?
It's interesting because there's actually there's law firms today, and again, I'm in a very comfortable position because Pierson Ferdinand started about 2 years ago. And so they were able to start with kind of that modern approach to delivering value to their clients. But I think that law firms need to just be incredibly agile in what they do. A lot of the firms today are kind of balancing between law firm and tech companies. And being a tech company and developing a product that can scale to an enterprise and potentially be productized is an incredibly expensive endeavor. And that expense has to be passed somewhere. I do think law firms have the opportunity to build technology, especially in the back office, but to go head to head with some incredibly well funded kind of Gen AI, LLM wrapper organizations is maybe not the best use of clients' money at the end of the day. But I think that if they're able to pivot, if they're able to recognize what the clients are saying, and desperately, actually, the clients are screaming to the hills, which is, I need to find ways to reduce my spend. I need to find ways to drive more value. I need to find ways to have better predictability in my internal budget because that's what's being required of me. And if I can't hit those success measures within my company, then my job is at stake, right? There's a lot of different layers to this equation that I think that sometimes is missed. But I also think of kind of the Dylan Thomas quote, and I'm going to completely misquote it, but it's like raging against the dying of the light, right? So do not go gentle into the night, rage against the dying of the light. And I think that if law firms aren't agile, at some point, the clients are going to make the decision to take their business to those firms that are agile. Do I think this is the end of law? No. Do I think this is the end of traditional models? No. Do I think this is the end of associates? No. But clients are getting more opportunities to take their business and to kind of pull their business into other areas, and they're absolutely looking at those opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You had wisdom across the board today, so we greatly appreciate your insights. Good advice here for startups, for other law firms, and for law students. So look,
My pleasure.
thank you for sharing them.
No, absolutely my pleasure. I always look forward to these conversations, and I'm really excited for where the future of law is going.
Great chatting. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Carly. Take care.